Hey everybody, how's it going? So I got something super exciting for you today, and it's yet another gear demo. Yay! Seriously, this thing's really cool. I'm world premiering this. This is the Dictator from a new company called Gain Labs Audio. They're from Hungary, and this is a tube Vari-Mu compressor. And for those of us who don't speak radio engineer, mu means gain, right? Let me double check this. And just a quick consult of Wikipedia there. Yes, mu does mean gain. I don't know why they just don't call it a variable gain compressor. Maybe mu just sounds cooler because it's Greek. I don't know. Not exactly certain there, but yeah, this thing is a freaking beast. It weighs a ton. This is actual tube gear, unlike something I might have demoed last summer, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, this you can definitely feel the weight of the transformers in here. This has definitely got some heft. Now, some famous tube compressors of the past would have been the Gates Stay Level and the Fairchild compressor as well. The Fairchild, if you can find them on the used market, or I don't know, 20 or 30 grand if you can find the tubes for it. They're definitely legendary. They've got a certain characteristic sound, and they're absolutely phenomenal. And this is a modern tube compressor that will definitely get you into that ballpark. Let's throw it up on the desk, run out some sources on it, and hear what it sounds like. All right, so I'm over on the desktop and I've got the Dictator set up over here and just camera on there so you can see the moves being made. But just to take you through it, we got an input and output gains and they are stepped. That's really cool. Attack, release, threshold, and this is basically a ratio. We go from bypass to low comp. This is more of a Fairchild kind of compression, and then crank it up like this and we get high compression. And then we've got a low pass filter as well so we can take some of the mud out. Now, first thing I want to show you guys in use is on a snare. Now, normally I would use this on a bus, like a two bus on an entire mix or a drum bus, but I just kind of want to show you guys what it can do on a snare drum because I think it's pretty damn impressive, especially when it comes compared to, say, a plugin. So what we got here is from that DW versus Rockstar shootout I did there a couple days back. And here's the snare being processed just wholly with software. Now let's switch this over to the Dictator. I've got this in on the signal chain as well. Let's listen to him. If I take that out. Wow. Go back to the original one for a sec there. And the Dictator one more time. That's pretty slick. That's just going from digital compression to analog. So yeah, this kind of gives the snare just a little bit more spank and a little bit more impact, and it sounds more like a real record. Now, for all you guys wondering how the hell am I getting the signal in and out of the mix, I'm using the RIA insert plugin here, and I've got this set up to my analog 3 and 4 output and input, and on the RME Fireface UFX Plus. It's a system I use all the time. Now, this isn't just a fluke. If we go over to, say, like that Sun Beta lead demo I did there, same thing on the snare drum, and this is in software. And we're going to switch this over to the Dictator. Wow, what is going on there? That's absolutely amazing. Now this is using the SSL native channel strip. I absolutely love this plugin. I think it sounds absolutely amazing. You see, I'm using the dynamic section here. I really like the sound of this on a snare. Now, if we go over here, we're back on the SSL for the EQ, but we're not using the dynamic section. Instead, we're using the dictator. It's just night and day difference. Absolutely amazing. And this is the thing. I mean, like, from what I've been looking at anyway, this thing is really difficult to mess up. They've got all kinds of great suggestions in the manual for how to set it up for various instruments and whatnot. And honestly, you can crank this thing over pretty hard and it's not going to make anything sound bad. It's really hard to make something sound worse with the dictator in the signal chain. Let's crank this up. Let's just see what it'll do here on the snare. And just back over to software compression here, just for comparison. Very nice, but doesn't quite have the same impact. Yeah. That's absolutely ridiculous. This is definitely going into the rack, and I'm going to be using this a whole lot more. Okay, next up, we've got it set up on the drum bus. This is just the shell mics, the kick, snare, and toms, that kind of thing. And by way of comparison, I'll show you how it sounds once again, just with the software mix. I don't really compress the drum bus. I've got enough other compression going on. And we're going to switch over to the dictator on the close mics. Again, it's just set up as a RIA insert here. If we punch this out and back in. So going by the suggestions here, we've got a low comp mode for more of a Fairchild kind of effect. And, you know, we're not really hitting it all that hard. There's not a lot of gain reduction going on, but it just seems to be giving the drums that bit much more of an extra oomph. Now, the one thing I'm going to say this thing isn't suited to is a drum crush bus. You can hit it as hard as you want, and it's not really going to do too much. I mean, in this case, I kind of prefer the software Pulsar that I've got up here that I demoed a few weeks back. This has been winding up on my crush bus quite a bit because it's just fantastic. The dictator itself, even if you crank it up to extremes, really isn't designed to crush the living crap out of a drum bus. That's with the Pulsar on. Switch over to the dictator. Doesn't quite have the same impact. So definitely not the first place I'd want to use a Tube Vari-Mu is for a crush bus. We want something really aggressive there. And unfortunately, yeah, this is not an aggressive compressor. This is a gentle compressor. But the place it's really going to be amazing on is the mix bus, the glue. So instead of using, say, a software SSL kind of thing, We can try this in Fairchild mode, and this is going to be quite nice. Let me show you guys what that's all about. All right, so let's do some mixed bus compression. This is where I love using a tube Vari-Mu in this occasion. I mean, like normally if I'm doing it in software, I'll use the SSL stereo bus compressor, the one that I demoed there a couple weeks back. This thing is absolutely fantastic, but this guy here has got a slightly different flavor, and it's super cool. And if you guys take a look at this, what I did was I've got it set up so it's driving a little bit harder into this, and we can actually see the amount of signal going into it. And I'm just starting to peak things into the reds here. It's a great thing about this. You can really lean into it and it's going to sound good. Like I said, this thing is very difficult to make sound bad, which is awesome if you're new at this and don't know what the hell you're doing, like most of us start out. But if I go back to, say, the bus compressor here, if I go back to the SSL plugin, let's listen to the difference here. I'll just swap these two out real quick. Let's drop in the dictator. Now it looks like I've got about 1.8 dBs of headroom, and I'm trying to keep these to the same level. That's the thing, but I can take this output up a little more. But that might be skewing our results a little bit, and we are getting a slight peak there. I think we're okay. I mean, it's really apparent on the kick and snare. You know, the SSL plugin has a nice little kaboom going on the snare, but it's nothing compared to what's going on here once we kick in the dictator. It's just got that much more smack on the drums. And it looks like I'm hitting at about 5 dBs of compression on it. And honestly, I think you could even go harder with it if you wanted to. But I'm just trying to shoot these two out and show you guys that, yes, there is an advantage to using hardware as opposed to just using plugins all the time. Let's try it out as a bus compressor on one more mix. Let's listen to it on the Sun Beta lead demo I did there a couple weeks back. Yeah, that is super cool. Like it's just like I said, we get a little bit more saturation coming off the tubes. It's letting the snare transient through a little bit better. It just sounds a little bit more lively. All right, so there we go. That is the Dictator from GainLab Audio. Now at 1623 euros, that's about 1,900 American dollars. So that's under $2,000 for a tube Vari-Mu compressor. That's not outrageously expensive considering what you get and the results it produces. I got to say, I think my favorite use for this thing is actually on drum bus. It just adds a certain something there. On the mix bus, it's a little bit more subtle on the bus compression than the SSL native version, but it still does something pretty cool. There is a noticeable difference, not quite as profound, but on the snare drum and on the drum bus itself, wow, this thing is absolutely stellar. So I'd say if you're looking to take your mixes to the absolute top level and get yourself something really cool that'll probably last a lifetime, you can throw in your rack and just send a signal out and get something awesome back, then I'd definitely say try taking a look at the GainLab Audio stuff. I know I'm going to be using this on a bunch of my stuff. I've got some clients coming in the summer, and I guarantee we're going to be using this probably on a couple of different sources on their mixes. We'll have more on that in the future. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.